Welcome to another episode of The Gold Mine. I'm your host, Casey Bell, and today's guests are Joseph Demarco and BuAli Shah. Let's get started. So the first question I have for the both of you, of course, you would have to answer separately as far as dealing with entrepreneurship. Did you grow up in an entrepreneur household as a child?
Go ahead, you can take it.
Well, not really. My parents worked. My dad was an electrical inspector for the city of Stanford, and my mother worked for secretary office and then works for the school system now.
Cool. What about you?
So my parents are from Pakistan originally, and I was born and raised in America. But so growing up here with my brothers, we had jobs all our life. We did open businesses when I was 17 years old, and I've been trying to help out the family with that. But after about a decade, when I turned like my early 20s, I think that's when we started opening more businesses. So we started opened a smoke shop. I opened a film production business, and that's what we started doing.
All right. So the next question, Ali, you can answer it first.
Sure.
So when did you first grasp the concept of entrepreneurship, or when did you first know the word existed and the concept existed? When did that first come about?
I think always, ever since I can remember. Even though when I was a kid, my dad, whenever we spoke about career and success in life, he always discussed how having a business is just the way to be in life, not a job. A job could be a means to getting to a goal, which is a business, but in long term, you should always consider business as your main avenue. And I think even now, whenever we talk about it, it's the same situation. We always talk about the business is a good way to go. So I guess the answer is always have been.
Well, what about you, Joseph?
Well, entrepreneur is one of I would like to do that. Like, I know I want to definitely own a business, and that would be martial arts, because martial arts has been my passion for the last 31 years. And I feel that I'm good at teaching adults, kids, and down the future, I definitely want to open up a dojo and run my own business, because I feel that you can get a lot more when running your business. You get to be the leader. You get to follow you get to do the work, but you get to do it on your own time. You don't have to worry about people watching over you. You can do it, and it will look really incredible. So that's what I feel my business would be martial arts, owning a dojo in the future.
So for Joseph, well, I guess Ali can answer it too. When did you first get introduced to martial arts?
When I was 6 years old. I actually, as a baby, because my mom introduced me to a wonderful school when I was a baby, and I started when I was 6. And the school has been like a second home to me. And yeah, 6 years old, I started judo, and then I did karate, and I've been doing it ever since.
And I think I started martial arts because I was bullied in school. In elementary school, I was in 3rd grade, and I was bullied. And I have a friend, and his name is William Leesk, and he taught me, you gotta stand up for yourself. So I said, I gotta have the tools. So I straight up went to martial arts school, and I said, I need to learn this. And my main goal was to defend myself. That's why I started martial arts. And I was, like I said, I was in 3rd grade. And ever since then, I was doing full hand-to-hand combat. I was doing Taekwondo. I was doing Kung Fu. I started doing gymnastics as well. And all for the purpose of self-defense. But then that turned into an acting career, because I'm an actor as well, a producer and director. And I also do martial arts most of my films are all action films, and choreographs in my films.
I feel the same way, that I feel I needed that confidence, discipline, and focus to defend myself. So that's why I started as well.
So to kind of somewhat off the subject, I wanted to touch bases on, only because I'm sure you've heard the negative comments of martial arts and that it promotes violence, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
And when I get to the point where I hear conflicting views on something, I know that everything has its history, everything has its facts. So I did research on karate specifically and found out that martial arts were started thousands of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I believe karate was started by the Chinese because when war happened, they didn't, of course, they didn't have guns and all that didn't exist. So they created a form of warfare, not necessarily to fight, but to scare their enemies into not fighting. And so it doesn't necessarily have a history of violence per se, more so, as you said, self-defense. Right. And when you watch most people, though, because most people don't read, when they're introduced to karate, it's films. And we know because films make money with drama and violence, that's all they show. So most people don't have a clue of the actual history of it, in that it's actually more so used as discipline and not necessarily to kill, et cetera, et cetera. So right. Yes. Kind of share more into detail the history of martial arts and the fact that it's not necessarily what Hollywood shows it to be.
No, I do traditional martial arts, which my martial arts came from South Korea. So I learned the traditional way of how to defend yourself and not use it as a, bully defense, only use it if someone attacks you first. Because we're symbolized as being a warrior. And if you mistreat that, you're dishonest, which means we don't have no respect for you. So, yeah.
So in terms of history, I think what you said, you hit the nail on the head, that back in time, that China, in Chinese, that when they started this, or Korean, they wanted to scare people away. That's what it was, because it looks scary, that's why they scream and shout when they do their kates, right? The forms. So also, even if you look at the history of filmmaking, even Bruce Lee, the reason, one of the biggest name in the martial arts is Bruce Lee, right? And the reason Bruce Lee learned martial arts was to defend himself, because he got beat up a lot in school too. And same thing happened with Jackie Chan, and a lot of people started following Bruce Lee as well. But if you look at the longest history I can remember is Bruce Lee, because I looked at him all the time.
Right. Yeah, definitely Bruce Lee.
Bill, on the others, can you bring that down?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so like you said, Bruce Lee is definitely shows when his past with the films and the way he did it, the way he, made his presence known through the.
Definitely, I think martial arts are really important. If anybody says that martial arts are violent, that makes no sense. You know what's violent? Guns are violent. Martial arts is something that I think everyone should know. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter what color you are, what age you are, what gender you are, does not matter. I think in fact, women should learn more martial arts even now, because some people don't even do that. They're like, martial arts are going to do that. They don't want to do it. It makes no sense. Yeah. Everybody should learn martial arts, because martial arts is just a way of defend, and not even a way of defending yourself. But when you learn martial arts, there are some rules and laws that they follow, which makes you more disciplinary, and it teaches you the right way of using martial arts. And I think because watching even my instructors and watching Joe follow his leaders, I think one thing is common in every martial arts is that the leader always feels like he's obligated to teach his disciples the right way, right? What is the right way? And what is the right way is be honest, be confident, and don't use a martial art for the wrong reasons. And if you're in a situation where someone's being hurt, defend them as well. So these are all positive manners in terms of, in general, even if you look at the law. Even the law, that's what police is there for, too. That's what they do. They don't use they should not supposed to use their weapons or their power in a wrong manner, right? This is where martial art comes into. So I think martial art, whoever thinks that martial art could be violent, it could be if you're being violated. If someone is being violent on you, you defend yourself. Even then, if you forgive somebody, you're a better person. That's what we've been taught as a martial artist.
Also, the history of martial arts as well. Martial, it also means military. So you see a lot of military, because that's where basically the martial comes from. Yep. It comes from the military, the hand combat, also police, SWAT. The police departments, they use self-defense. So, and
besides the hand-to-hand combat martial arts, I also went into learning stage combat. Which, because I was a martial artist, I was able to control my punches, and I was able to learn that better for film. And then Joe and I together start doing that as well. Right. So we started doing stage combat, which basically means you do fighting, but you don't hurt anybody, but you gotta move in a certain way and you gotta tilt your head in a certain way. So it looks real, but it's only real on camera or on in theater, but not, no one gets hurt. So we got into that as well. So that's why we both been doing, he's been helping me choreography my films too.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Well, now back on subject to entrepreneurship. Something I've learned myself, no matter how many books you read, or how many webinars you attend, you're always going to make a mistake when you are doing something as far as entrepreneurship. So if you each can give me one lesson you made out of a mistake you made as far as being an entrepreneur.
Mistake I made. I really can't, because I haven't fortunately I haven't owned a business yet, so can't really.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so owning a couple of, like maybe 4 businesses now, maybe 5, and selling them, we made a few mistakes. So I don't know if opening a business in the pandemic is considered a mistake, but I think what I did was we opened about maybe 10 years ago, we opened a flower shop, and we opened it, we ran it, it was doing well. But there's some mistakes that we made was not being enough discipline in terms of prices, in terms of marketing, in terms of customer satisfaction. We were taking those things lightly. This was like maybe 15 years ago, 16 years ago. And I learned so much from that business. And I think not that I only learned the talent of using how to take care of flowers, but also learned that how important customer service is. Yes, customers are always right until they're wrong. So you have to understand, and you have to own your own, hold your own, and you have to understand what you're giving, what value your business is giving customer. If you're giving customer, for example, if you're giving customer a value, you have to give them something that is worth it, and they will spend any kind of money. If you're trying to sell something, it's not going to go so well. So when in terms of, and I've also done sales. I've also done sales of cars. I've done those kind of things too. But what I've learned is that I've always give people information if I'm selling something, right? I just give them enough information. Let's say if I'm trying to sell a bottle of water, I'm going to give them enough information about this water bottle that if they really want a bottle of water, they'll buy it. If they don't want to buy it, I'll say no matter what I say to them, they're not going to buy it. So this is how I do it. I just give them so much. I load their brain with so much information that if they came to buy something, they will buy it. And that's how I've learned to do it. So honestly, honesty is one of the best policy when it comes to entrepreneurship. Know what you want, know what your customers want, and make sure you're passionate about what you're doing, because there's going to be times where you're going to have to put a lot of hours into your own business. So if you're not passionate about what you open, it's not going to go well, because you're going to be sick of it. So whatever business you do, make sure you're passionate about it. You have information about it, that you will never stop learning about it. You will love to learn more about it. Even if you have like 5 years experience, you still want to learn more about it. Then you should open that business.
Yeah. Cool. Do you have any one person you could, and it doesn't have to be someone you know personally or someone you've paid to be, but is there anyone you can say was a great mentor to you to bring you to where you are now? And who was that person, and what exactly have you learned from this person?
For me, definitely that would be my teacher, Grandmaster Young Man Lee. I've known him since I was a little kid, and he wasn't just a teacher to me. He was a mentor, an inspiration. He would always check in with me, ask me about my life, ask me about my schoolwork. He's always there when I needed him. And I appreciate everything. I appreciate everything what he's done for me with my training, because he's taught me not just to be a martial artist, but be the person within myself as a person. Because martial arts is not just about kicking or punching. It's about helping and learning and making and being an example for another person that they can look up to. So like I said, Grandmaster Young Man Lee is like a second father to me. He means a lot to me in my heart, and I appreciate everything of what he's done for me and what I've accomplished. And I'm going to go further because of Grandmaster Young Man Lee.
Great.
And what about you?
Let me just make sure I understand the question correctly. Are you talking about as an entrepreneur?
Any yes, right now, yes. As
Okay.
an entrepreneur.
So when it comes to entrepreneurship, I think my father was one of the ones that that showed me what entrepreneurship really is, because he's done it. He came from nothing, and he's worked really hard his way up to becoming a businessman and owning land and doing all that stuff. But I think there's some things that you cannot give away, that work no matter what business or entity or lifestyle you go into. Some things you learn is like honesty and knowing 100% of what you want to do. So let's say if I'm going into a business, you need to do your product research. You know, I'm a graduate in a business administration and international management. So they've taught, I learned that from that too. But like, for example, my mentorship came also from William Lee. So I was telling you, he's one of my mentorship. I've known him since I was a kid. He is a guy who was our neighbor, and he became like a second father to me as well. And because sometimes my father wasn't around, and he was in Pakistan, and my brothers were here, who were also mentoring me, but also my friend William, who was also mentoring me, and he taught me about how it's really important to not only look at the positive side, but also look at the negative side of everything. Make sure you're crossing your T's and dotting your I's. Make sure that that's important to understand. So because the more research you do, the more stronger your backbone will be when you're opening a business. You need to understand, you do your SWOT analysis. You need to understand who your competition is. You need to understand why you're doing this business. And what happens to 10 years from now? That's it, 5 years from now, will you be able to get a loan? Are there some restrictions? For example, if you're opening like a smoke shop, are there any restrictions from the city from giving you a loan in the future? So all these things were that I was supposed to be looking at, and I did.
Thank you for watching. I'd like to thank our guest, Joseph Demarco and BuAli Shah, for stopping on by. Have a great day.